till now, what we had gone for is basically the types of probability, that is marginal probability, probability, but majorly we are working on the conditional probability for the data science, which simply says that if we have to find the probability of some event that is occurring or related to something, then it has to be a conditional probability, which simply says that the probability of event A will be totally dependent on the probability of event B that has already occurred. So it has to be taken care of that the Bayes theorem has to be Bayes theorem has to be in this sense ki it has to maintain the conditional probability. So over here, the Bayes theorem is used to calculate the conditional probability, which is nothing but the probability of an event occurring based on the prior knowledge of the conditions that might be related to the event. So now it is like it will be calculating the conditional probability, keeping in mind that the probability of a event has been occurred and some prior information related to that particular event. We have some prior information related to that particular event. So it is basically written in the same format. Over in the conditional probability, it was being written as P A intersection B upon may P of A or P of B, that depends on what exactly you are calculating out. But over probability, now it is being written in different terms, that is P A slash B, which is again the conditional probability of the event A that is being calculated on the basis of the event B that has already occurred, which is equal to P B A into may P A divided by P B. So over here, PBA is basically PB slash A is referred to as a likelihood ratio, which measures the probability that is given event A of occurrence of B. So over here, so exactly what we are calculating this conditional probability, which simply says that this is the posterior, this is the prior, so sorry, this is the prior, this is the again something called as the likelihood of the or likelihood ratio of the probability that event A has to occur due to the occurrence of B, and this is the event that for that particular event we exactly know whether that particular event has to occur or not. So PA and PB are the event probability. P B slash A is basically again a type of conditional probability where we simply say is that we have to calculate the probability of this by taking care of that this has been occurred, another one, and finally we have to calculate this. So we can simply say that this is the posterior depending on the prior and the likelihood of the event that has to occur. Is it okay, class? So over here it says conditional probability of event A occurring given that event B is occurring or not, that is PA of B. Then PA is basically the probability of the event of A occurring. PB is the event probability of event B to be occurring, and PB of A is basically the conditional probability of event B occurring given that event A has already occurred. Now this is actually called as the Bayesian theorem. So my functionality that is being written as this is now being termed as my Bayes theorem, which can be rewritten as a conditional probability as or PA intersection B divided by P of B. Is it okay, class? Till this point, it is clear to everyone, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if I'll go with the Bayesian notation rather than going to the conditional probability notation, so these are basically the conditional probability. So I am talking in terms of conditional probability over here. But if I want to talk in terms of Bayesian, then it can be rewritten as A and B is known as the proposition, B is the evidence. So first of all, when we are talking in terms of Bayesian theorem, then it has to be, rather than saying probability of A, event A to occur, probability of event B to occur, we'll simply call it as proposition and the evidence. Why? Because we are saying that A has to be calculated when B has been occurred. So basically B is providing the evidence that I am already occurred. Now A event can occur. Now, PA represents the prior probability. Similarly, PB also represents the prior probability. Now, over here, prior probability of the proposition is PA. Prior probability of the evidence is PB. Then PA slash P is called as posterior, and PB slash A is called as the likelihood. So then it can be recalled as the Bayesian theorem simply states that you have to calculate the conditional probability of an event when we have the evidence of a event that has already occurred in support of the event that has to occur. So if we'll further sum up the Bayesian theorem, then it simply says that posterior is nothing but the likelihood, which is nothing but the proposition prior probability divided by the evidence prior probability. So likelihood multiplied by proposition prior probability divided by the evidence. So it is basically, this is likelihood, this is for the proposition, and this is for the evidence. So let's talk about this. There is one example that simply states that consider three bags. Bag A contains two white balls and four red balls. Bag B contains eight white balls and four red balls. Bag C contains one white ball and three red balls. We draw one ball from each bag. What is the probability to draw a white ball from bag A if we know that we drew exactly a total of two white balls in total? So exactly what it is saying कि we have to go for bag A only. उसकी probability निकालनी है, keeping in mind that already two white balls has to be taken in total, जो हम निकाल चुके हैं. So for that we have to go for the conditional probability. That means we should be aware of exactly what we have to calculate and what is the probability that is required to calculate. So it is basically A slash X, where X is some random variable that is actually telling you the probability that the event X has been occurred. So event X is nothing but white ball का ड्रू होना is the event, and A का क्या होना, बैग A से white ball का ड्रू होना is the event, is the probability that we have to calculate. So let A be the event of picking a white ball from bag A, and let X be the event of picking exactly two white balls. Now this is, that has already occurred, and A from bag A that has to occur. We want to calculate the probability of, that is P A slash X, that is the probability of occurrence of event A given that X has already occurred. So now the condition, according to the conditional probability, this is my conditional probability. So what we have to go for now, it can be taken care in three ways. How? First step में जैसे क्या कहा जा रहा है, white from A, white from B, and red from C, because we have to calculate total of two white balls. So bag A में से एक ball आ जाए white, bag B में से एक ball आ जाए, and red from bag C. Bag A ही white ball है, red from bag B, and white from bag C. Red from bag A, white from bag B, white from bag C. These are three conditions that can happen while drawing the ball from all the bags. But what the main condition is that it has to be two white balls. Then you have to find the probability of A in the X, which is nothing but the sum of the terms of 1 and 2. Why? Because we require only two white balls of that. This is not something that we have to go for. So what could be the possible answer? Who will tell me? What is the value of P A intersection B divided by, sorry, X upon में P of X. What is the probability of P of X, class?
P A
Yes, class.
intersection X upon P A by X.
फिर से बोलना बेटा. I didn't get you.
P A intersection X upon P A given X.
That, so what is the value of P of X? What is the value of P of X? So in question, bag A में कितने balls हैं? So bag A contains 2 white balls and 4 red balls. Bag B contains 8 white balls and 4 red balls. And bag C contains 1 white ball and 3 red balls. What is the probability that 2 white balls are there? Prior information तो यही है ना? We know that the probability of the 2 white balls that has already occurred. So उसकी probability तो हमें पता होनी चाहिए ना. तो क्या होगा? What will be the value of this P of X? Can I write it as 2C1 plus 8C2, 8C1 plus red कितनी है? 3C1. Can I say that?
Yes, ma'am.
But ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ फर्स्ट कंडीशन के लिए आ रहा है, because we have to calculate P of X and we have almost, over here we have 6 balls, over here we have 12, and over here we have 4 balls. So we have to add all the possible combination, or it will be written as P of X is equal to 2C1, 8C1, 3C1 plus, again it will be 2C1, 4C1, and white is 1C1 plus red ball is 4C1 and white ball is 8C1, and again white ball is, white is 1C1. Can I say that Px is this?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
first condition, यहाँ से this is the probability from bag A, bag B, bag C. Again bag A, bag B, bag C, bag A, bag B, bag C. What is this? P A intersection B. PA intersection B क्या है? Because we have to make sure that 2 white balls has been picked and they are from bag A. इसका मतलब कौन कौन सी probability हो सकती है? It will be 2C1, 8C1, 3C1 plus 2C1, 4C1 and 1C1. Why? Because these are the 2 possible conditions that are intersecting from this section. Am I right, class?
Yes, ma'am.
So what will be the final probability of P A slash X, which is nothing but this term divided by this term? हम calculate कर सकते हैं, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So I will take more example on Bayesian theorem after this, because we have to go for the Bayesian calculation for our data set. So after this is actually related to the probability, but we have to calculate in terms of our statistic probability. So after this, we'll be going for the more of numericals. Most probably from tomorrow class. In tomorrow's class, we are going for the Bayesian theorem. So let's deal further discussion on certain points. What is point estimation? So there are two things, something called as estimator and something called as estimate. Who will tell me what is this point estimation? Read it and just explain me what exactly we mean by point estimation. यस क्लास, कौन बताएगा मुझे?
मैम डेटा का कोई ऐसा पॉइंट जिस जो उसकी अप्रोक्सीमेट वैल्यू जहाँ पर हम उससे पूरे डेटा का ओवरव्यू ले सकते हैं.
Exactly. So rather than discussing this, we'll go for the example first. It simply says that in order to calculate the mean of a huge population, so I'll simply say population of Delhi. We first draw out a sample of the population. So let's calculate we'll divide whole of the Delhi city into 4 or 8 zones. So it will be north, east, west, south, then again northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. Fine. And after that, what I'll do now, what I had done, I had done the sampling of the total area of the city or total population of the city. Now, after that, I'll calculate the sample mean. So then I'll calculate the sample mean. And if I want to calculate or if I want to know the total population or the total mean of the population, I can simply consider that sample mean that can estimate that population mean. Okay, so if I'll say that the ईस्ट दिल्ली का या फिर let's talk about साउथ दिल्ली का जो mean population है that is somewhere around let it be 25,000. So I can simply say that this is the South Delhi mean. So I can simply say that the total population mean can be represented by this. So I will take all that eight values into this. So I'll get the final population mean. So it is actually helping me out to estimate the total population mean rather than, because if I'll calculate the total population mean, that means I have to have all the number of the population, total number of population, and sum of the population divided by the total number of the population. So undoubtedly that is very tedious task because every now then I have to calculate each and every sample. Rather than doing that, what I'll do, I'll divide this population into n number of samples and after that calculate the mean of just one sample. सो आई कैलकुलेट अ सैंपल एरिया. सो एक एरिया का मैंने सैंपल निकाला, वहां से जो मेरे को फाइनल सैंपल मीन मिल रहा है, दैट सैंपल मीन विल बी गिविंग मी सम एस्टिमेशन रिलेटेड टू माय पॉपुलेशन ऑफ मीन. फॉर एग्जांपल, जैसे हम मार्केट से कुछ चीज खरीदने के कोई आइटम खरीदने के लिए जाते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स टॉक अबाउट लेट्स गो फॉर लेज का जो पैकेट आता है वो 10 रुपीज का आता है. वी ऑल नो दैट. ठीक है, फॉर द टाइम बिंग मान लेते हैं. सो इफ आई वांट टू परचेज 100 पैकेट्स ऑफ लेज, सो आई नो हाउ मच अमाउंट आई हैव टू पे. यस क्लास, how much amount
Yes,
I have to
ma'am.
pay?
1,000.
We have to
1000.
pay 1,000. How did we calculate this?
1,000.
100 into 10.
100
100
into
into 10.
10.
So what exactly this 10 is giving you? It is giving you the price estimation. कि एक पैकेट की एस्टिम आई मीन पूरे सैंपल की, अगर मैं पूरे 100 की वैल्यू निकालने की बात करती हूँ तो मैं करती 10 + 10, आई टोटल 10 100 टाइम्स. Fine. So that is a very tedious task for me. Okay, 10 first time आया, then next time 10 आया, then next time 10 आया. So I'll add. So now what I had done, if I'll calculate the mean of this, so I know it is basically 1,000 divided by 100, which is equal to 10 only. So now this is the estimated mean. So now I know that if I want to purchase 10,000 packets, so it is nothing but this is my estimator and it will calculate my total value of the quantity that I want to purchase out. Similarly over here, this is the total population. So basically हम क्या कर रहे हैं, एक पूरी population का mean निकालने की बजाय हम उसका sample mean निकालते हैं और वो जो sample mean है that works as an estimator to calculate the further values. So now what it says, point estimation is concerned with the use of sample data to measure a single value which serve as an approximate value or the best estimate of an unknown population parameter. जस्ट लाइक अभी मैंने बोला कि 100 पैकेट्स की वैल्यू कितनी है. नाउ इफ आई वांट टू परचेज 10,000 पैकेट्स, सो आई नो एग्जैक्टली व्हाट इज द amount that I need to pay for that 10,000 packets of the Lays. Fine. So over here, the estimator is nothing but the function. So I'll simply say if x is, this is 10, so it is nothing but a function. So now if I'll vary this, जब ये 100 था तो value is 1,000. When my x changes to 10,000, so now this function जो कि इसके अकॉर्डिंग जनरेट हुआ है, this will give me a value of of 10,000 multiplied by 10, which is equal to 1 lakh. So now this is acting as an estimator. An estimate is basically the realized value of the estimator. So now this 10 is the realized value, or I should say this is the estimate. So function that is defining defining the value of the sample that is not in the list, that particular value can be calculated by this estimator. And this estimate, जो फंक्शन जिस पर लग रहा है उस फंक्शन की जो वैल्यू हम निकाल रहे हैं जिस पॉइंट के अकॉर्डिंग, दैट पर्टिकुलर वैल्यू इज कॉल्ड एज एस्टिमेट. इज इट ओके क्लास? तो बहुत बार हम क्या करते हैं, वेन एवर देर इज अ ह्यूज डेटा सेट, please class understand, the population means huge data set. So whenever I have more number of data set, I have to fill those values. That means if there are more number of missing values, then this estimate function comes into picture. That means if I'll say I have a data set of 10 lakh and somewhere around 10,000 or let's say 50,000 values are missing. So definitely with this missing value, I can't do the analysis because half of the population, half of the total population is them having the missing values. So I can't infer something. और अगर मैं inference लेकर के भी आऊंगी तो either I can drop these 50,000 values or I'll use something. अगर मैं इसको 50,000 values को drop कर देती हूँ, that means out of 10 lakh, 9 lakh 50,000 are the possible values that are incorporated in the data set. So there is not a problem. But if I'll say I have just 1 lakh of population and 50,000 are missing values, undoubtedly my inference will be wrong. My interpretation will be wrong and the prediction is and the accuracy will come out in a false condition. So I don't want that. For that particular thing, what we should have one specific value that can be filled by these missing values. And these missing values can be taken care by either the mean or median or mode, because we all know that this is something called as central tendency theorem. According to that, mean is the central point. Similarly, median for the normal distribution is also lies at the central point and mode is also the central point. So that's the only reason we need a specific value. So we have to go for the estimator and estimate. तो point estimation वहां पर calculate किया जाता है. So finding the estimates methods are method of moment, maximum of likelihood, bias estimator, best unbiased estimator. So method of movement में क्या है? It is a method used to estimate the population parameter like population mean, population variance. In simple terms, this involves taking down known fact about the population and extending those ideas to a sample. So I'll simply say I'll calculate the mean, median, mode, and from all these three values, any of the value can be taken by the population so that we can infer something. Then there is a maximum of likelihood. That means this method is uses a model and the values in the model to maximize a likelihood function. What was my likelihood function? That PB slash A has to be there. If this is the maximum value, then what I'll do, I'll simply use this parameter into my estimator. Then the bias estimator. This method works by minimizing the average risk. That means I have to go for this. ये जो random variable मैं लेके चलती हूँ, I have to reduce this fraction. I can't go for like x is equal to 1 lakh, x equal to 10 lakh, x equal to 50 lakh. इस पर क्या value है? I will not calculate like this. I have to take care of that the small values has to be calculated. Then best unbiased estimator. In this method, several unbiased estimator can be used to approximate a parameter. Now there are n number of things. Just like mean, median, mode हो गया है. जो मेरे लिए better होगा वो मैं use कर लूँगी. For example, if I have a data set that is actually calculating, that is actually predicting the salary of an employee. So undoubtedly, if there are more number of missing values, the salary will always be filled in by median. Age is always filled in by median. But if I have some continuous data, then undoubtedly I can simply go with the mean value. So now this is basically called as best unbiased estimator. These are defined. Is it okay, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is this confidence interval? Hmm. Read it and let me know. What is this confidence interval? कौन बताएगा मुझे what is this confidence interval? The confidence interval is the measure of your confidence that the interval estimate contains the population mean mu. So it's simply saying, fine, now I am going with the missing values to be filled by me with some confidence level. So if I'll say 95%, I am confident that the value has to be filled by the mean, or 95%, I can simply say that the value of that particular data set can be turned by the median. So this is something called as confidence level. And हम normally जो confidence interval लेके चलते हैं वो हम हमेशा लेते हैं 95% and 5%. So 5% confidence level का मतलब क्या हुआ? They might vary. 95% they are not. So now over here it simply says that the measure of your confidence is called as confidence interval. Now, interval estimator can be anything. It can be mean, it can be median, it can be mode. But confidence interval is basically the measure of your confidence, how you are simply saying that you are very confident that that particular data set has the mean or the mode or the median, or you are calculating the standard deviation. Now, statistician use a confidence interval to describe amount of uncertainty associated with the sample estimate of a population parameter. And this is by default very much required. Because every now and then you people also say that मेरा exam बहुत अच्छा हुआ, I hope I'll score somewhere around 75 or 80. Now, you are when you are saying 75 or 80, are you very much confident that 75 or 80 marks you will fetch in your examination? Yes, class, if I'll say such so, I hope I will fetch 75 to 80 marks in my examination. Am I very confident about it? Yes, first years, please let me know. First years, am I audible now? I hope you people are listening to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so who will tell me? What do I mean by that? I hope that I'll fetch 75 to 80 marks in my examination. Am I very confident about it?
No, ma'am.
No, exactly. So now if I'll say my exam went very well and I somewhere around I will surely get 95 marks. Now am I confident about it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
now I am very specific. But now if I'll say I'll rework on it, I have very less chance to score 95%. Now what do I mean by that? Am I confident or am not confident?
Not confident.
Not
Not
I am not
confident.
confident. So this is what exactly the statistician does. And this is very much very important parameter for your analysis in data science or for the prediction. We are never 100% confident that particular event will 100% occur. Fine. So we have to take care of some confidence interval where we simply say that 95% chances are there that the event will surely occur. But 5% chances are there that might not occur. So we have to go in this proportion. So undoubtedly, जितने भी test पढ़े होंगे, I hope T test, Z test, P test. I hope ये सबने सुना हुआ है. Yes, class. Statistics वाले students ने सुना होगा ये.
सुना है बस हाँ.
हाँ बस सुना है ना तो we'll work on this also. But what exactly these are actually giving you the probability, or they are actually providing you a score which actually tells you ki whether your score is giving you a proximity with some confidence interval or not. So there are different types of tests. Now P test, T test and Z test, they are related to each other, but at the same time they are defined for certain set. कि टी टेस्ट कहाँ पर लॉजिकली इंप्लीमेंट किया जाएगा, जेड टेस्ट कहाँ पर लॉजिकली इंप्लीमेंट किया जाएगा और पी स्कोर कहाँ पर यूज किया जाएगा. So they are defined. So they are working on the confidence interval itself. So what we are calculating after using the t-test, there is a value that is being contributed by t-test. We'll find out the corresponding value with the percentage on a table. There is a proper table for t score, z score and p score. वहां से हम निकालते हैं वो value and we get to know कि what is the probability. So we require this. So confidence interval is either 95% and uncertainty is 5%. Technically, a range of values so constructed that there is a specified probability of including the true value of a parameter within it. So we require that. So now I'm simply saying, okay, I am 5% sure that I'll secure 90%. So if I'll say 5% secure, that means the chances are uncertain. But if I'll say 95%, I'm sure that I'll score 99. So now the chances are not uncertain. It is confirmed that it will happen. Is it okay, class? Now the
Yes, ma'am.
margin of error. Margin of error is basically the difference between the point estimate and the actual population parameter, that is called as sampling error. So class, there is a difference. Just understand. Something is being called as actual and something is being called as predicted. So what is the relationship between these two? What is the relationship between these two? Is there any kind of relationship? Then you'll get to know what we mean by margin of error. सिर्फ इतना समझा दो कि क्या ये दोनों के दोनों सेम है, अलग हैं, रिलेटेड है, क्या है ये?
Actual is accurate and predicted can be precise.
Okay, actual is accurate, predicted can be precise. Okay, anything else? Okay, who will let me know the formula of x minus a whole square?
X
Anyone?
square plus a square minus 2x.
X square plus a square minus 2ax. Is it right or wrong?
Right.
Okay. Who will tell me x minus a raised to power 4 का square? Can anyone tell me the answer of this? Simply say yes or no.
मैम ऐसे याद नहीं
Yes,
है,
ma'am.
ओपन करना
ऐसे
पड़ेगा।
याद नहीं है. Getting my point. So class, this is accurate. Why? Because I also know the formula for this particular equation is this. Fine. So this is something called as accurate that I had asked you. I also know the answer. You also know the answer, and there is a perfect matching. Then it is basically accurate. जो तुम answer कर रहे थे, that was the predicted one. Getting my point? Actual one, जो कि already given है. जो आंसर तुमने किया आफ्टर गिविंग योर आंसर एंड देन आई एम मैचिंग इट आउट, देन इट इज बेसिकली दी प्रेडिक्टेड वन. सो अब चांसेस क्या थे? इस इक्वेशन का आंसर एक्चुअली में यही है. इसके चांसेस क्या है? यहाँ प्रिडिक्शन से भी मुझे आंसर यही मिले. गेटिंग माई पॉइंट? So now if I want to calculate actual minus prediction, if it is coming out to be 0, I'll simply say the error is 0. इसका मतलब देयर इज नो एरर. लेकिन अगर किसी भी तरीके से मेरा एक्चुअल माइनस प्रिडिक्शन इज नॉट इक्वल टू 0, दैट मीन्स एरर इज देयर. And what we want in our response is that there should be error or there should be minimal of error.
मिनिमल।
मिनिमल. डेफिनेटली जीरो नहीं होगा. आइडियली जीरो होना चाहिए, बट एक्चुअल कंडीशंस के अकॉर्डिंग अगर बात करें या प्रैक्टिकली बात करें तो नहीं होता. तो अनडाउटेडली दिस हैज टू बी वेरी मिनिमल. So this is what exactly we mean by the marginal error. That the difference between the point estimate and the actual population parameter value is called as the sampling error. When mean is estimated, the sampling error is the difference between mu minus x bar. Now what is this mu minus x bar? Mu is the actual mean of the sample or the population, and x is what? The mean of the sample. So I have to, ये एक generalized way में बोला जा रहा है. Since mu is usually unknown, the maximum value of the error can be calculated by using the level of confidence that depends on 95% or 5%. So over here, इस पूरी gist को अगर हम समझाने की बात करें तो we can simply say that whatever we have, we are aware of what is the actual value. हमें पता होता है actual value क्या होता है. For example, if I say तुम्हारा एग्जाम हुआ और एग्जाम के बाद I met you people and I ask you, okay fine, what how much you will score for let it be Niyati is here. Niyati, Juhi, Shivani, anyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if I'll ask you, okay, how was your exam? So what you will say? It was good. I'll ask you, okay, how much you will score. So now actually that girl knows exactly how she has performed. So she will say, I might score 60, 70, or I might score 80 to 90. She will never say a confident number that is, I'll score 85. Now, if she'll say 85, exactly, I'll score 85, that means now that is the actual response. When the result came out, the response was coming out to be 80. Now the error is, now the error is,
5.
it is 5. So there is actual and there is a prediction. So ये जो values हैं, these has to be calculated, and these thing is being called as the margin of error. We have to make sure that the margin of error has to be have some value that is very small. Okay, so how we have to calculate? We have to calculate by taking care of the level of confidence, that is 95% or the 5%. Sigma is basically the standard deviation. N is the sample size. And this capital ZC is basically the critical value or the confidence confidence interval है. That means 95%, 90%, 85%, 5%. So वहां से अगर जो हम error निकालने की बात कर रहे हैं, that is basically your margin of error. In another word, I can simply say that हम परसेंट एरर हमेशा कैसे निकालते हैं, जिसे हम कहते हैं एब्सोल्यूट एरर या रिलेटिव एरर. एब्सोल्यूट एरर और रिलेटिव एरर मींस सेम. सो इट इज बेसिकली द एक्चुअल minus prediction divided by actual whole multiplied by 100.
100.
ये फॉर्मूला आई गेस तुम सब ने पढ़ा हुआ है, स्पेसिफिकली जो साइंस के स्टूडेंट्स रहे जिन्होंने फिजिक्स के प्रैक्टिकल्स किए हैं उन्होंने जरूर निकाला है. व्हाई वी यूज टू कैलकुलेट. एंड अगर तुमने नोट किया होगा कि एनीथिंग इफ इट इज कमिंग आउट टू बी ग्रेटर देन 10% और 20% के बीच में आता है, तुम्हारी टीचर फिर भी बोलती है ऑब्जर्वेशंस आर नॉट वेरी गुड, बट समथिंग कमिंग आउट टू बी 40%, शी सिंपली सेज रिपीट योर प्रैक्टिकल. Why? Because this is actually very high level of uncertainty. This is still there is uncertainty within 10 to 20% of range, but definitely anything greater than 20% is very high percentage of uncertainty. Getting my point, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So till this point, I hope clear hai. Estimating level of confidence. So basically, this is my normal distribution. I have this point being counted as your mean. This is the positive value and this is the negative value for the estimator. So undoubtedly, these are basically called as the critical values. That means I'll simply say minus 40 to plus 40. So now these are my critical values. And just see. So if I'll say, I can simply say that 95% are lying between these range. Remaining 5% are not in the same range. Getting my point, class? So मैं क्या कह सकती हूँ, chances of occurring that event is having a 95% of certainty with 5% of the uncertainty on each side. That simply says that they might occur. Fine, class? So what I have to go for, I have to make sure that my distribution will always follow the normal distribution because they are mirror image of each other. So in totality, these are, if I'll say, sorry, if I'll say this can be 2.5, this can be 2.5. So if I'll say that the total distribution under this is 100. So 95% are covering the maximum values that are actually stating that the event is occurring. Remaining 5% are non-occurring or with some uncertainty in their values. So that is called as the estimation level of confidence. We are not actually calculating it, but we have to understand this thing. So it's, if we are taking this example, which simply says that the level of confidence is 90%, this means that you are 90% confident that the interval contains the population mean. Example के तौर पे लिया गया. Remaining 10% is actually is equally distributed on either side of the C. Why? And it is basically 0.05, basically the 5%. So what we are saying, so this is from this point to this point, it is my 90%. That simply says that the whatever the population mean is, that is following the 90% criteria. That means mean is in this population only. Remaining 5% are with uncertain that the mean remains the same. So how we have to define, how we have to take care of your confidence interval, identify a sample statistics, that basically you have to estimate the population parameter जिसके लिए, तो you have to identify that those sample. Select a confidence interval. Now it is up to you. You want to go for 90%, 95%, 80%, 85%. Normally हम हमेशा 95% ही लेकर के चलते हैं क्योंकि we want maximum to be predicted very well. So इसलिए हम 5% uncertainty लेके चलते हैं. That means 5% error is okay, लेकिन 95% chances has to be like कि it has to be a positive event. Find the margin of error, that we have to calculate the error and then specify the confidence interval. Hypothesis testing, I will not start today. This is the last point that we are going for, and this is undoubtedly a bit of जिसको हम H0 and H1 भी बोलते हैं. So थोड़ा सा confusion है, इसीलिए इसको हम कल करेंगे, आज नहीं कराऊंगी क्योंकि अभी शुरू कराया तो complete भी नहीं होगा and there is no point taking this right now. So till this point is, if anyone is having any doubt, just ask me. No one? Okay. So most probably tomorrow hypothesis testing, and after that we'll start with your machine learning. So most probably tomorrow we'll be going for naive Bayes and Bayes theorem.